Okay, so we have notes 5.2, graphing in standard form from ax plus by equals c. So sometimes we might have to graph an equation written in standard form, ax plus by equals c. And this a, b, and c, these are usually going to be numbers of some kind. They're not going to always be letters. The only letters we'll see are the x and the y. So how would we do that? Well, your first option is to guess and check. Sometimes it might be faster to guess and check. But option number 2 that always works out is using your mathy skills. So we're going to pick a number for our x and plug it in. And I always would pick 0, 1, 2. And same with the guess and check. I would always pick 0, 1, 2. And then for mathy skills, you solve for y's number. So in this first problem here that's written in blue, I would use our brain, right? I would use option 1. So this is going to be your brain. So 0 is our x's, right? Because see how we have x and then y, and then we have x and then y. So x plus y needs to equal 5. So 0 plus what would give us 5? Well, that would be 5. 1 plus what would give us 5? Well, that would be 4. 2 plus what would equal 5? Well, that would be 3. So that one's done. And now we're going to graph this. So 0, 5 is going to be on our y-axis. 1, 4 is going to be to the right on the x-axis, and then up 4. And then we have 2, 3. So to the right 2, up 3. And see there's a pattern here. Down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. Continue that pattern. Okay? Because we need to make sure we extend our graph so we find the correct answer. And then the opposite direction, if we went down 1, right 1, well, we would go up 1, left 1. Okay, and we're going to continue that pattern once again. And once you have it, draw a nice straight line, and there's our first graph. Now, if I didn't mention this before, today is not hard, it's just a lot. And I know it's a lot, but you are smart enough to handle a lot. So, next we have negative x plus y equals 1. So this one, we're going to get a little mathy. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite the equations like you see at the bottom here. And it says to pick a number for our x and plug it in. So our first number we picked is 0. So we're going to replace this x here with 0. I didn't change anything else. So everything else gets brought down. The only thing I changed was our x. And now I can solve for this. So if I have minus 0, let's just add that 0 on both sides. And this gives us y equals 1. So when x is 0, y is 1. Now let's do the same thing for number when we have a 1. So we're going to replace x with 1. Nothing else changed, so everything else needs to stay the same. Now we can solve. Add that 1 on both sides, which is what we were doing last unit. We get y equals 2. And the reason why I didn't add a third negative x plus y equals 1 is because these are linear equations, which means we either add or subtract down a table. So let's see here. We added by 1. So if we do that again, our next number would be 3, right? Using those semester 1 skills. So we have 0, 1, so that's going to get plotted here. Then we have 1, 2, and then we have 2, 3. And then looking at our pattern here, we're going up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. So let's keep that going until we can't do that anymore. And remember, this is a video, so you can pause. Now, if I went up 1, right 1, if I want to do the opposite so I can extend this throughout my graph, I go down 1, left 1. And I'm going to repeat that until I can't anymore on this particular graph. And I'm going to draw my line. What I'm looking for, the whole point of all of this stuff, is I'm looking for where they cross. And they cross right here. I'm going to circle that in red. Okay? Now I have to write that as a solution. And when I write my solutions, it has to be in x comma y. So the x value here is 2, the y value is 3. So I got 2 comma 3 as my solution. let's look at the next one here. So both of these are going to be math skills. Actually, one of these is going to be math skills, and it's going to be this one, right? It's going to be hard to figure out two numbers that add to a -3. So using our math skills, once again, start with this first one. We're going to replace this x with a 0. Now remember, 2x means 2 times x. So I got to keep that multiplication. So I'm going to have 2 times 0 plus y equals -3. And I'm going to solve. Now we have 2 times 0 is 0. Okay? But I don't have to write it because adding or subtracting by 0 doesn't change anything. So really, I can just kind of say that this kind of cancels out when you multiply by 0, so that we're left with y equals -3. And look at that. We are done. We got y's number. Now let's plug in 1. So we're going to have 2 times 1 plus y equals -3. Well, that does not cancel, right? 2 times 1 is 2, so we do have to bring that down because 2 does change what your number looks like. And now we're solved. We'll subtract that 2 because it's a constant, which leaves us with y equals -5. Remember, you're going to think of this as -3 plus -2. And so -5 is our next number. And then using our patterns from first semester, next is going to be -7. So we're going to start graphing this. So we start at 0 and drop down to -3. So this is going to be our y-intercept, or on our y-axis. Then we got 1, -5. And then we have 2, -7. And my pattern here is down to right 1. So I'm going to keep that pattern up. And really, I can only do it once. So if I went down to right 1, the opposite would be going up to left 1. And we're going to repeat that pattern until we cannot repeat it anymore in this particular graph. And once I have it all repeated, I'm going to draw my line as straight as I can. Obviously, that wasn't very good. Now in this one, you can either use your math or your brain. We're going to use our brain, okay? So if I have 0, that means I'm going to have 2 times 0, which is 0. So 0 plus y, or 0 plus what number would give us 4? That would be 4. Then we have 1. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus what number would give us 4? Well, that's going to be a 2. Okay, so that's why this one you can kind of do in your brain, because it equals a positive number and everything in here is positive. So it's a little bit easier for our brains. And the pattern is nice because now we know the next number is going to be 0. We went from 4 to 2 and then 2 to 0 because these are linear equations, which means they make straight lines, which means you add or subtract as you go down your table. Now we're going to graph. We got 0, 4. We got 1, 2. We got 2, 0. And as you can see, our pattern is down 1, right 1. So let's repeat that until we cannot repeat it anymore. And then the opposite movement is down to left 1. So that means I'm going to go up to right 1. And once I have my whole thing filled out, I'm going to draw a nice straight line. Now in this one, they don't cross. So if they don't cross, there's no solution, right? In order to have a solution, they need to cross somewhere. This is from 5.0's notes. The next one, we have 2x minus y equals a -4. So this one we're going to use mathy skills. And again, we're replacing our x's here. So instead of like starting with writing the equation like how I did up here at this point, okay, I am just going to straight up just start plugging in. So I'm going to replace this x here with a 0 because that's the first one. And then you got to remember that -y has a -1 on front of it. So 2 times 0, well, 0 is not going to change anybody, so we got -1y equals -4. We got to get rid of that -1, so we divide it because it's a coefficient, which gives us y equals 4. So our first number is 4. Next, we're going to replace x with 1. So we got 2 times 1. Well, 2 times 1 is 2. So we have 2 minus y, but remember there's a -1 in front of this y. We'll need to get rid of that. That's why we're going to write the 1. Subtract 2 on both sides. This leaves us with -1y equals -6. Remember, you are adding these. Divide by -1 on both sides. We get y equals a +6. And from our pattern here, if we went 4, 6, then we have the next one's going to be 8 because linear stuff adds. Now we're going to plot. So we got 0, 4. We got 1, 6, and we got 2, 8. Our pattern in this one is up to right 1, so repeat that. And then our going backwards is down to left 1. And we're going to draw a beautiful line, nice and straight, hopefully. I forgot I can cheat using technology here. All right, in the next one, we have 3x plus y equals -1. So we're going to replace these x's. So we're first going to start with that 0. So we got 3 times 0. Well, that cancels, which leaves us with y equals -1. Easy peasy. I always love the zeros. In the next one here, we got a 1. So we're going to have 3 times 1. So that's going to give us 3 plus y equals -1, Miss Rawolf. Subtract 3 on both sides. And remember, you are adding these. So this gives us y equals -4. A negative plus a negative stays negative. All right, so we got a -4 here. So in this pattern, we're going down by 3. So next up, we'll have a -7. So we'll graph. 0, -1 is going to be on the y-axis. Then we have 1, -4. And then we have 2, -7. And in this pattern, we're going down 3, right 1. And really, we can only do that one more time. So if I go the opposite direction, I need to go up 1, 2, 3, left 1. And we're going to repeat that until we can't repeat it anymore. Once we have, draw your nice straight line. And then this one crosses, so that's nice. And it crosses right here. The x value is a -1 and the y value is a 2. So we got -1, 2. Lastly, we have these two. The first one, we can actually use our brain. And I forgot to write my 0, 1, 2. So if I replace x with 0, 0 plus what number gives us 5? Well, that's 5. If I replace x with 1, 1 plus what number would give us 5? That would be 4. If I replace x with 2, 2 plus what y value would give us 5? Well, that would be 3. And now let's graph it. So we got 0, 5. 1, 4, 2, 3, and this pattern continues as down 1, right 1. And then if I go in the opposite direction, it's up 1, left 1. And again, I can draw my dots faster because I am using technology. So if you need to pause the video while you draw your dots, totally fine, understandable. In the second one here, I could maybe use my brain, but I'm kind of nervous about that. So why don't we just plug numbers in? So I have 2 times 0 first. So 2 times 0 cancels out because if we add or subtract by 0, nothing's going to happen. Then we divide by 2 on both sides, which gives us y equals 5. So that's the first one. In the second one here, we're going to replace it with a 1. So we got 2 times 1 is 2. So we got 2 plus 2y equals 10. Subtract the constant, which gives us 2y equals 8. Divide by the coefficient, which gives us y equals 4. So our pattern here is going to repeat. But look at this. Look at this table and this table. They're the same, which means I would graph it the same. So I don't even have to redraw points. I can just overlap my line here. And look at that. We have total overlap. And whenever we have total overlap, this means infinite solutions. All right? Don't forget to do your homework, and I hope you guys have a good evening.